The late-night hum of traffic echoed through the gas station parking lot as Sasha Williams stepped out of her car, the cool evening air cutting through the heat of the day. She had just finished a long, exhausting meeting at the CIA headquarters, where she had led a classified operation against international threats. Now, all she wanted was to grab a bottle of water and head home. She was tired, but her mind was still sharp. Her work required it. But as she reached the entrance of the store, the bright lights of a squad car flashed behind her. She froze, sensing the tension before she even turned around. Sasha was no stranger to stares. As the CIA director, she was used to being in high-profile, high-stress situations where the weight of national security rested on her shoulders. She'd spent years climbing to the top of her field, working tirelessly to protect the country. But tonight, standing in a small gas station parking lot in a quiet suburb, she wasn't wearing the formal attire of a government official. She was just a black woman in a tank top and jeans, a figure that seemed to trigger something deep within the officer pulling up behind her. The officer stepped out of his car, his uniform crisply pressed, and his eyes immediately locked onto her. Sasha didn't move, but she could feel the familiar surge of anxiety creeping into her chest. Racial profiling, it wasn't new. She had experienced it time and again, even at the highest levels of power. It had always been subtle, hidden under layers of polite conversation and smiles. But tonight, something in the officer's stance made her heart rate spike. "Ma'am, what are you doing here?" the officer called, his voice louder than it needed to be, cutting through the silence of the night. Sasha turned to face him, her expression calm but unreadable. She had been on more dangerous assignments than this. She could handle this. "I'm just getting some water," Sasha replied coolly, keeping her voice steady. "Is there a problem, officer?" The officer didn't respond immediately. Instead, he took a few steps toward her, his eyes scanning her up and down, his gaze lingering on her face for just a moment too long. There was something about the way he studied her, the judgment, the assumption. It made Sasha's stomach turn. "You seem like you're in a hurry," the officer said, stepping even closer now. "I don't see you around here often. You don't look like you belong." Sasha's heart skipped a beat. She recognized the look now, the way the officer was sizing her up, the underlying suspicion in his eyes. This wasn't about her actions. It was about who she was, who he assumed she was. "I don't need to explain myself to you," Sasha said, her voice firm now, cutting through the officer's assumptions. "I'm just here to grab some water." The officer's jaw clenched. "I'm gonna need to see your ID," he said, his hand inching closer to his holster. Sasha's mind raced. This was escalating, and she knew how this could go. She had been in situations like this before. The look in his eyes, the tone in his voice. He was making a decision based on his own prejudices, a decision that could lead to trouble for her or worse. She needed to defuse this. She stood her ground, refusing to show fear. Her hands slid into her bag, not reaching for her wallet, but for something much more significant. She pulled out her CIA badge, the badge that had opened countless doors and shattered countless barriers. The officer blinked, clearly thrown off by the sudden shift in energy. His gaze flickered from the badge to her face, and he took a small step back. His confidence wavered for a moment, and Sasha seized it. "This is who I am," she said, her voice steady and unwavering. "I'm the CIA director, and I don't take kindly to being racially profiled in my own country." The officer's face drained of color as he stammered, completely thrown off. You're the CIA director?" Sasha didn't answer immediately, letting the weight of her words sink in. The officer's eyes darted to the badge, to her face, and back again. He looked like a man who had just realized he had stepped into a storm he didn't understand. "Yes, I am," she said, her tone now carrying an unmistakable authority. "And I suggest you think very carefully about how you proceed from here." The officer stood there, frozen, his mind clearly scrambling to process the new information. Sasha could feel his discomfort, the realization that he had crossed a line he wasn't prepared for. She didn't let the silence linger for long. "I've worked my entire life to serve this country. I've been in more dangerous situations than you could imagine. And this is what you choose to focus on." The officer's face flushed with embarrassment. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The truth was undeniable now. He had misjudged her. He had assumed, just like so many others before him, that she was someone to be questioned, someone to be scrutinized simply because of the color of her skin. But she wasn't just anyone. She was in charge. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the officer said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know." "No, you didn't know," Sasha replied, her voice calm but cutting. "And that's the problem, isn't it? The assumptions, the profiling, the fact that you didn't bother to think I might be someone important." The officer's face reddened further, and he took a step back, suddenly unsure of himself. "I'm sorry, CIA Director. I'll report this. I didn't mean to." "You're damn right you'll report it," Sasha said. "And when you do, I want you to think about why this happens. Think about why you decided I didn't belong here. And then think about how often this happens to people who don't have the power or the position to stand up and correct it." With that, she turned and walked toward her car, every step measured, every movement precise. She wasn't going to let this officer off easily. He needed to understand that his actions had consequences. As she reached her car, she glanced back once more. The officer was standing still, his face still flushed with embarrassment, his shoulders slumped. It was clear he had learned a hard lesson tonight. A lesson about assumptions, about power, and about the judgments people made based on race. Sasha didn't waste another moment. She climbed into her car, started the engine, and drove off into the night, her mind already shifting back to the world of national security, of classified intelligence, and global threats. But the encounter had left an impression, not just on the officer but on her as well. She knew that this wasn't the end of her fight. It was just another chapter. And as the CIA director, she would keep fighting for justice, for the people who didn't have the power to speak out, and for herself as a reminder that even in moments of weakness, her resilience would always prevail. If you love this story, share, like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories.